Jung. More than 400 years ago. A land where strength meant survival, where loyalty was valued more than life itself, and where the sound of clashing swords could decide the fate of an entire family. This was the age of the samurai. Elite warriors who lived by a strict code of honor, discipline, and courage. They fought for powerful lords, protected their lands, and were prepared to sacrifice everything for duty. Many became respected. A few became feared. But only a handful became legends. One defeated a trained samurai at just 13 years old. Another survived battles that should have claimed his life. One warrior became so legendary that, more than 4 centuries after his death, people around the world still study his strategies and philosophy. So, who were these extraordinary men? And what made them the greatest samurai in Japanese history? Today, we uncover their incredible stories. Our journey begins with the most famous swordsman Japan has ever known, Miyamoto Musashi. Long before history remembered his name, Musashi was simply a young boy growing up during one of the most violent periods in Japanese history. The late 1500s were an age of constant conflict. Powerful warlords fought to expand their territories. Armies marched across the countryside. Villages lived under the constant threat of war. For many children, growing up meant learning to survive before they learned to read. Musashi was one of those children. From an early age, he was fascinated by combat. He wasn't born into great wealth. He wasn't the strongest boy in his village. But he possessed something that could not be taught, an unbreakable determination to become stronger every single day. While others rested, Musashi trained. He observed experienced warriors whenever he had the chance. He paid close attention to every movement, every mistake, and every victory. Without realizing it, he was preparing for the moment that would change his life forever. That moment came when a skilled samurai named Arima Kie arrived in the village. Arima was an experienced swordsman who traveled across Japan, challenging other warriors to prove his strength. His reputation alone was enough to discourage most challengers. No one expected a child to stand against him. But then, something unbelievable happened. A 13-year-old boy stepped forward. That boy was Miyamoto Musashi. The villagers stared in disbelief. Some laughed. Others shook their heads. "He's only a child," they whispered. "This fight will be over in seconds." To everyone watching, the outcome seemed obvious. A seasoned samurai against a young teenager. It wasn't supposed to be a fair fight. But Musashi wasn't thinking about his age. He wasn't thinking about his opponent's reputation. He had only one goal: to win. As the two stood face to face, the crowd fell silent. The air felt heavy. Every eye was fixed on the young challenger. Then, the duel began. Arima attacked with the confidence of an experienced warrior. But instead of panicking, Musashi remained calm. He watched carefully. He waited for the perfect opening. Then he struck with incredible speed and determination. Before the crowd could fully understand what had happened, the duel was over. Against all expectations, 13-year-old Miyamoto Musashi had defeated the experienced samurai. Silence filled the village. No one could believe what they had witnessed. The boy they had underestimated had defeated a warrior that many grown men were afraid to challenge. From that day forward, the name Miyamoto Musashi began to spread across Japan. But this astonishing victory was only the beginning of a journey that would turn a fearless young boy into the greatest swordsman his country had ever known. News of Musashi's astonishing victory spread quickly. People across the region found it hard to believe that a 13-year-old boy had defeated an experienced samurai. Some praised his courage. Others dismissed the victory as nothing more than luck. Musashi ignored them all. He knew that one victory alone could not make him the greatest swordsman in Japan. If he wanted to earn that title, he would have to prove himself again. And again. And again. So he left home. With little more than his weapons and an unshakable determination, Musashi began traveling across Japan. He crossed mountains, walked through thick forests, followed lonely roads, and visited towns where skilled warriors gathered. Wherever he heard of a powerful swordsman, he went there. Not to boast, not to seek fame, but to challenge himself. Each duel taught him something new. Some opponents were faster. Some were stronger. Others relied on clever tricks and years of experience. Musashi carefully studied every one of them. He paid attention to the way they stood, the way they moved, even the way they breathed before attacking. He believed every warrior had a weakness. The challenge was finding it before they found his. With every battle, his skills improved. His confidence grew, and so did his reputation. Before long, stories about the young swordsman spread across Japan. People whispered that he was impossible to defeat. Some believed he possessed extraordinary talent. Others claimed the gods themselves had blessed him. But those who truly understood Musashi knew the real secret behind his success. It wasn't magic. It wasn't luck. It was discipline. Every victory came after countless hours of training, observation, and self-control. Musashi never stopped learning. Even after winning a duel, he searched for ways to improve. He believed that the moment a warrior stopped learning, he had already begun to lose. As the years passed, Musashi defeated one skilled opponent after another. His list of victories continued to grow. Soon, his name was known across the country. But among all the warriors in Japan, one name stood above the rest. A swordsman whose speed had become legendary. A man many believed was unmatched. His name was Sasaki Kojirō. People everywhere asked the same question. Who was truly the greatest swordsman in Japan? There is only one way to find the answer. A duel. One battle. That would be remembered for centuries. The duel was arranged on a small island called Gonryu Island. As news of the battle spread, excitement swept across Japan. People traveled from distant villages and towns, eager to witness what many believed would be the greatest sword fight of their generation. On one side stood Sasaki Kojirō. He was famous for his extraordinary speed and his unusually long sword, a weapon that had helped him defeat countless opponents. Many believed he was the finest swordsman in all of Japan. On the other side stood Miyamoto Musashi, a warrior who had earned his reputation through discipline, determination, and victory after victory. The morning of the duel finally arrived. Kojirō reached the island early. He stood calmly, waiting for his opponent. The crowd gathered around, expecting Musashi to appear at any moment. But the minutes passed, then nearly an hour. Still, Musashi did not arrive. Whispers spread through the crowd. Has he lost his courage? Did he run away? Even Kojirō began to lose his patience. But Musashi had planned everything carefully. He believed that the greatest battles were won not only with a sword, but with a mind. By arriving late, he hoped to make his opponent impatient and emotional before the fight had even begun. Finally, a small boat appeared on the horizon. Standing inside was Musashi. As the boat approached the shore, the crowd noticed something strange. He wasn't carrying a fine steel sword. Instead, during the journey, he had carved a simple wooden sword from one of the boat's oars. The spectators stared in disbelief. How could anyone face Japan's greatest swordsman with nothing but a wooden weapon? Musashi stepped onto the beach without showing the slightest sign of fear. The two warriors stood face to face. For a brief moment, everything was silent. The wind stopped. The waves gently touched the shore. No one dared to speak. Then, the duel began. Kojirō attacked first with incredible speed, swinging his famous long sword in a powerful strike. But Musashi had already anticipated the attack. He moved at the perfect moment. With one swift and powerful swing of his wooden sword, he struck Kojirō on the head. The blow was devastating. Kojirō collapsed to the ground. The duel was over in an instant. The island fell completely silent. No one could believe what they had just witnessed. The greatest swordsman in Japan had been defeated by a man carrying nothing more than a wooden sword. From that day forward, there was no longer any doubt. Miyamoto Musashi had secured his place in history as one of the greatest samurai to have ever lived. But his greatest lesson wasn't about defeating others. It was about mastering himself. And that lesson would inspire generations for centuries to come. After his victory over Sasaki Kojirō, Miyamoto Musashi's name became known throughout Japan. There were few warriors left who were willing to challenge him. By this point in his life, Musashi had fought more than 60 duels. According to historical accounts, he remained undefeated. But as he grew older, something began to change. He no longer sought battles simply to prove his strength. Instead, he turned his attention to understanding the deeper meaning of strategy, discipline, and self-mastery. He spent years traveling across Japan, not only as a swordsman but also as a teacher, an artist, and a philosopher. Musashi believed that true victory was not just about defeating an opponent. It was about controlling your own mind, staying calm under pressure, learning from every mistake, and continuing to improve no matter how skilled you became. Near the end of his life, Musashi retreated to a quiet cave known as Ryagando. There, he wrote the book that would make his wisdom immortal. He called it the Book of Five Rings. Rather than teaching only sword techniques, the book explained how to think clearly, make better decisions, adapt to changing situations, and overcome challenges. More than 400 years later, Musashi's ideas are still studied around the world. His teachings have influenced martial artists, military leaders, athletes, and business professionals alike. His story reminds us that greatness is not achieved overnight. It is built through discipline, patience, hard work, and the courage to keep moving forward, even when the odds seem impossible. From a determined 13-year-old boy to the most legendary swordsman in Japanese history, Miyamoto Musashi proved that true strength comes not from the sword in your hand, but from the character within your heart. His legend has endured for centuries, and it will continue to inspire generations yet to come. If you enjoyed this journey through the life of one of history's greatest warriors, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Here on Every World, we bring history's greatest stories back to life. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next adventure.